Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News on the South Florida Conservative News Network. And it is Saturday, November 15th, 9:30 a.m. Before I have to go out and do some painting, we are shaking our heads here at the office, as most people should if you have watched anything with these left-wing socialist, born-again DEI nonsense organizations, more especially those involving gay and lesbian issues and how the gay and lesbian, and I guess I'll throw the bisexuals in there, have been so overrun by these theorists of all these other trans, queer, this and that shit that's like make believe or things that have nothing really to do with the gay lesbian experience, and how they are dragging that lifestyle down and trying to eradicate it, more especially in an issue like this one, which is kind of typical. But those of you who are in the lesbian community, think about this one for a second. So, this involves a film that just came out and a woman who is a model. Her name's Sydney Sweeney, right? Sydney Sweeney, whatever, who cares? She's no big icon. Her problem was she did the jeans commercial and somebody made this story up that was about eugenics and had nothing to do with anything like that. It was bullshit. They've got mileage out of it. But what they were able to do is Sweeney was involved in a film called Christie, which is a biopic of, I guess, the first openly lesbian boxer. Okay. That came out the just the other day, but there had been a campaign against it from the beginning from these organizations who, especially the news services, who normally are so happy that there's anything gay, lesbian, whatever going on, they overdo it and, they make some of these that are shouldn't even be student pictures sound like it's War and Peace. This was not the case. I do not think Miss Sweeney is the greatest actress since Meryl Streep. However, through the use of politics and the media, a film that came out modestly priced at $15 million dollars made $1.5 million dollars on its opening weekend in the United States with 2,000 theaters, which is a pretty good number to come out in. They made 1.5 million. Now, people will argue what was going on that weekend. There's a lot of things that can kill your film. And the other thing that can kill your gay themed film is if people tell the gay people not to go see it. Now, I think that there are so few films coming out in general on a positive, normal positive, because she didn't get to be a boxer by being she was a lesbian who boxed, not a boxing lesbian, if you know what I'm saying. Should have been a good movie. Probably worth watching. I've seen some of the parts to it. They'll make money back when it gets to cable because there's just a whole genre of people who watch fight films and then stuff like that. But really quickly, when people are telling you it's a failure, realize that people who are supposed to be supporting the gay and lesbian community made this film fail. So, what does that say about your support network, right? Here, I'll give you a couple other things so you can get what goes on in these numbers. You may not remember. There was a film that came out a few years ago called The Danish Girl. You can look the subject title of matter up. It was Eddie Redmayne. He's a now famous English actor. He was accomplished in England at the time, but not well known. He's gone on to make those uh the Hogwarts kind of films, but he does the one with the fantastic monster. That's Eddie Redmayne. He is a star of this. It is a, I guess we'll say, cross-dressing going into transsexualism or transvesticism film. And that cost 15 million to make, but it was released worldwide. Now, worldwide, you have a different group. Also, at the time it came out, you didn't have this militant anti ourselves group of media people who were telling you as a gay or lesbian what gay or lesbians like, which I think is hysterical. that you're not smart enough to know on your own what you should like and what you shouldn't like. Now that film, $15 million budget, and it made $64 million worldwide. Excellent film, shot very well. I mean, this other one sort of looked like a student film, and like I said, Miss Sweeney is not the greatest actor on the planet. In the United States, a $15 million film is a little bit above a student film these days. Hate to say it. And everybody's favorite, Million Dollar Baby. If you know Million Dollar Baby, that was Hilary Swank as the fighter, as a woman, no sexuality given at all, only had a father daughter relationship with Clint Eastwood. So you could have gone any way you wanted on that one, right? Any way you wanted to go on that, you could have gone because she was just a woman trying to be herself and blah, blah, blah. That cost $30 million and made 216 million bucks. The reason that was lower is Eastwood, as a writer, director, and star, packages himself differently. So that price is kind of same thing, except then you had Clint Eastwood's face in there, Hilary Swank, who was an excellent actress in that film, right? Don't know why that community didn't get behind that either, except the Clint Eastwood's a Republican. So you've been giving up a lot of positive roles or positive films that should be feel goods. For what reason, I have no idea. That just came up this morning at breakfast. We were talking about this, and I said, I remember, I guess we were in high school, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, that was a transvestite you could get behind, right? Everything was fun. Everybody was happy, except for Brad Majors, I think. I think he had to bottom that scene out. Nobody really says what went on, but I think that's what happened. But the thing of the matter is, when you don't go crazy insane on certain things, more gets done. You get more done with less, more positivity with less. I mean, to this day, I'm still surprised Modern Family was able to keep that. That was a time capsule of gayness, where it was a monogamous, partners. They went out and bought the Chinese kid, and they were going to redo a Victorian home. That was big when I was younger. That was the thing, because they'd gotten over the West Hollywood parties. AIDS was over. They realized was down. They realized there were some problems, and it would be better off to settle down and be happy we survived the whole thing. This other stuff, you will not get a decent film that the rest of America can relate to. I'll say you won't see normal films with gay characters in it that everybody can relate to anymore, because they just don't come up. They will have something like this where there was some, whatever her name is, Ruby Rose. Who gives a shit, right? She's not a great actor herself. Well, she wanted that part. That's what I hear from the underground in LA. She thinks that she should get every part. That's like if you talk to people who know the little people, Peter Dinklage is disliked a lot because if he can't get the part of the little person, he shits all over it, or he takes them all, even if he doesn't want them. And then all these other little people don't get the jobs. Okay. So they went with this girl for whatever reason. Who knows? Maybe she is a lesbian on her weekends, right? You don't know. I don't know. It'd be great if she said that, because it would fuck everybody up. She's like, I didn't want to come out with it, but yeah, I'm sapphic as a motherfucker. That would have been incredible. Trolled all these people. And these online magazines are all garbage. You should be embarrassed if you are actually written by gays or lesbians, that you do the stuff that you do. You bring your own people down so often, it's not even funny. That's why the mainstream has such a hard time dealing with all this shit, because we know there are basically only three. You got gays, lesbians, and bisexuals. All this other stuff is fantasy land, right? And transsexualism has nothing to do with what the other three are. So say what you want. Film could have been good. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's $1 Million Baby. I'm not saying it's the Danish woman. I'm not even saying it's the crying game, which nobody seems to remember. And it definitely was not Rocky Horror Picture. So those of you who are out there that want to see you and your friends portrayed, you don't have to be going out there curing cancer. And this is the problem with sexual proclivity. Let's say that you're like my neighbor up the street. He just digs Latin girls. I don't think it needs to come into the conversation in a film when we're trying to cure cancer. And I'm like, doctor, I'm curing this cancer, but I'm missing something. He's like, oh, if only some Latinas were around, I could get my shit together and do this. Your sexual proclivity has very little to do with your real life. If all you are is your sexual proclivity, you're a fucking mess. If all you are is a hole or a pole, as we would say, then you are a freaking mess. Go to a doctor, tell them you have some problems, get your shit straightened out. Because when you're one of those things, there are people that will view you as those things, and you will be burned out and suicidal by the time you're 25, 26 years old. Welcome to South Florida. Okay. So, otherwise, like I said, this film didn't get a break. Here are some other films for you to take a look at that would be similar genre. There was another film, but it was a documentary and it wouldn't fit into that niche. So, we're not going to talk about that so much. But these all had some kind of sex thing, some sexual orientation questions, and we know what their prices were. If you had to have one and you had to wonder, I would say Million Dollar Baby would have been a good one because what would have happened later? Would she have married some girl from the farm? We don't know. All we know is that her and Clint Eastwood were not a romantic couple, right? Because Clint doesn't go in for that fantasy shit where it's a 90-year-old guy and a 21-year-old girl with daddy issues. He doesn't do that shit. Maybe in real life, I don't know. But in the movies, he doesn't do that. So you saw it again with him when he did El Camino, right? He is at that point in his life where he is a teacher or an instructor or he gives you guidance. That would have been a great film. These are all good films. You have to have more where there's interaction between the gay and straight community and a mutual support system where everybody's not trying to fuck each other, right? And then you will be fine. And also where you don't just say that fifth guy, oh, by the way, that fifth guy's gay. Why? Why do we have to know that? What does it have to do with the film? If it has nothing to do with the film, but you need to push it out there somehow, keep it subtle. Those of you people who are going to become filmmakers, keep it subtle. You don't have to go over the top. Look at films that were made in the 40s and 50s. There's a movie called Laura. It's a noir film. It's excellent. The guy in that film is gay as fuck. He ain't getting any gayer. And she's like the beard for him. And if you look at the interplay there, nobody had to put a billboard up to let you know what was going on there. Same with the hell would have been the other one? Razor's Edge, the original one, the black and white. Same guy. He played that character. He played the door to the closet is definitely not closed guy, but he was in a lot of stuff. But people back then were more discerning. They didn't have to have it beaten over the head with them that these people were gays and lesbians and stuff. So you make up your own decision. Like I said, these other magazines that have trounced this film, I would say they are also trouncing the film and at the same time giving an FU to the lesbian community because they didn't give it a break. They should have given it a break on the respect of the character and what was going on. This is a real life woman. Give her some respect. But no, you can't. You had to destroy the actress. So you destroyed the real woman. So you are not really pro lesbian. It's basically how it works. So otherwise, have a good day. We're going to talk about City of God next time. I swear it's true. That's what we're going into next. So there you have it. Have a good day. It's Saturday, and we'll talk to you later on.